Miyuki, and we're going to be talking about a Mexican lady, Hello, guys. Welcome back to our last part of our top 10 most dangerous women in the world. We're going to be talking about a Japanese woman by the name of, I believe I'm saying it correctly, Mataviejitas. And these women are, guys, some extremely terrible women. One is a baby killer and one is a murder of the elderly. So go ahead, grab your brew, and join me on this despicable tale. On January 12th, 1948, two police officers came across the body of 5 infants. Of course, this was extremely suspicious. They did do an autopsy, and the autopsy came out that they did not die of natural causes by any means. An investigation led to the arrest of one Miyuki and two conspirators, and the reveal of an extremely morbid practice that included the death of over 100 infants. Much of Miyuki's early life is unknown. I could not really find much about her early life. And I do apologize if I am saying her name wrong, but all we know is that she was born in 1897 in a southern Japanese town. She attended and graduated the University of Tokyo and later married a husband that she led down this dark path with her. But her current career led her to being a midwife in a maternity hospital and then later going on to becoming its director. Now this sounds like a really good woman, right? Because she's a midwife and she was doing so well that she eventually became the director. Well, listen to this. During the times, abortions were illegal, and many people were having children they simply couldn't afford to support, and resources as far as any government help were very slim to none. So our so-called good woman had seen a cash cow in the making. Now, I'm not going to just tell you about the extent of this woman's evilness, but it also highlights the complexities of the justice system and their attitude towards such a disgusting, heinous crime. Despite the overall evidence against her, through this cold, calculated decision that she chose over 100 times, she decided that it would be best, instead of the children growing up poor, that they were killed. She thought these children would be better off unalived. And she unalived somewhere between 103 to 169 infants. Yes, 103 to 169 infants. While the other midwives in the hospital, they knew of her practice, and the local government just kept ignoring the deaths of these poor innocent infants. So eventually it resulted in a lot of the midwives leaving the hospital because a real midwife, imagine that, like, you know it's wrong, you're reporting it, but nobody's doing anything about it. But they left. And to make matters worse, she had a doctor sign off on all of these deaths. And she convinced her husband to basically talk these people into paying her to murder these babies. Now, keep in mind, these are not like 2 months, 3 months, even 4 months pregnancies. These are full term babies. They come out healthy as anything, getting unalived. And she would do it. She would have her husband be the sales pitcher of why it's so much cheaper to pay them to unalive these babies instead of raising their child. It was so much cheaper. And then on top of that, got a third person, a doctor, to sign off on the baby's deaths. Are you serious? But of course, after the police found 5 corpses, an investigation led to the arrest of her. She eventually did get arrested, and so did her husband and the doctor. A citywide search also led to the discovery of 40 infant corpses inside their house. Inside their house, 40 of them were inside their house and 30 more under a temple. And listen to this. To make matters worse, her argument in court was that it's the parents' fault. It's the parents that should be on trial of the unaliving of these babies because there's no fault of hers. They deserted their babies. And the sad thing is, this defense of the fact that it's the parents' fault for deserting or abandoning their babies, no matter how well you word it, the court just ate that shit up. What? Are you serious? Oh. But yeah, the defense got a lot of support because in Japanese laws, I'm unsure of what it is now, so don't quote me on the law right now. But back then, in the Japanese law at the time, infants had 0 rights. 0 rights to life. So murdering a helpless, defenseless baby, unaliving them because their parents abandoned them, or pay you to do this, they have no rights. So this resulted in her sentence only being 8 years. And to make matters worse, her husband and the doctor only got 5 years. 5 years each. And their sentences were halved. Yep. They appealed it, and their sentences were cut in half. How absolutely appalling is this? How could she unalive all these helpless babies and only get 8 years and manage to get halved? Like, make it make sense. But let's go ahead and move on to our next lady.
Grandmothers are thought as grandmothers of the nation. There is a character in the golden era of Mexican films. Her name is Sara Garcia. She's an old lady, like I'm sure you've seen her because she is the face of the chocolate Nestle. And like chocolate, grandmothers are warm and sweet, and they provide a lot of comfort. This grandmother of the nation is what was being killed.
La Mataviejitas. For 8 years, 8 whole years, 42 to 48. And let me just put a pin in this. What is with them having such a large range on these murders, right? Even the last one, it's like from 102 to 169. That's a large jump. That's a large jump. Saying 42 to 48 is a large jump. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back into it. So, for 8 years, 42 to 48 women over the age of 60 were unalived. The police said that the media was going crazy by assuming they were all tied together, even though they were all women over the age of 60, lived alone, no forced entry, and robbed alongside the murders.
Sus víctimas fueron ancianas que vivían solas. Se hacía pasar por enfermera.
This is the very first time in Mexican history that police named and profiled a serial killer. Nicknamed El Mataviejitas. This means the little old lady killer.
La asesina serial cometió por lo menos 11 asesinatos.
Talk about a public gaslighting, guys. Oh, because they think that it's connected. It's all the media's fault that people are getting upset about this. Huh? public gaslighting. But when the local police finally got some brain cells together and said, oh, wait, yeah, there is a pattern here. Of course, they assumed it was a man, but just any man. They thought it was a man wearing women's clothing. This led to a
came up with a profile of the little old lady killer.
They were looking initially for a man, even though witnesses kept on saying that she was a woman that was wearing a wig, that had makeup, but they couldn't conceptualize of a female serial killer. Police then thought it must be a transvestite. So they went in October of 2005 and arrested many transvestite sex workers. And after none of them matched their fingerprints, they concluded, okay, it's not a transvestite, but we're sure it's a transgender person.
A large roundup, guys. A large roundup of cross-dressing prostitutes. Because, of course, anyone could come to that conclusion, right? Because that really makes sense. In 2006, absolutely shocking the Mexican community when they found out who the serial killer was and why. It was a local female wrestler by the name of Barraza.
A break in the case happened by accident in early 2006.
A renter was coming home when he saw another woman that she was exiting the house, and after he saw his landlady lying on the floor, strangled dead, he started chasing this other woman that he had just seen exiting the house, crying out for help from police, and two police officers that were patrolling the area chased these women, and when they caught her, they said, "This is the serial killer we had been struggling to find."
The person the police caught defied their profile of a serial killer. Her name was Juana Barraza,
who was quite famous among the community. But, of course, it was to cross-dressing male prostitute. Go figure, who'd have thought? But the reason why was her alcoholic mother traded her to a man for beer when she was younger. And that's why she was targeting a specific age group, because of the lingering resentment to just how disgustingly horrible her mother was and how her mother treated her. This former wrestler was also known as the Silent Lady.
It was a case that almost defied belief.
Se hacía llamar la Dama del Silencio.
Someone was killing elderly women in Mexico, strangling them with a stethoscope.
Juana Barraza is a professional lucha libre wrestler that has been profiled as the very first female serial killer of elderly women in Mexico City.
Before she was arrested, Juana Barraza had an unusual claim to fame. She was a professional wrestler in the lucha libre tradition. Her name, La Dama del Silencio, or the Lady of Silence.
Lucha libre is a mix between a sport and a spectacle that has been very popular in Mexico since the 1930s. She had a persona that had a Power Ranger-like suit with silver knee boots and a butterfly mask, also silver and pink. Just 1 week before she was arrested and named the Old Lady Killer, she appeared on national TV giving an interview saying that she was a fan of lucha libre and that she was rude from the bottom of her heart.
Ruda o técnica. Ruda de corazón.
Ruda wrestlers are characterized by their rawness, their lack of technique, and the supposedly dirty tricks they play in the ring. Police and media retroactively built a profile around Juana Barraza. They said her somewhat masculine appearance and her wrestling background helped prove that she was a serial killer.
Over the course of the investigation, detectives had a particular interest in what was taken from some of the crime scenes, as it was an item that was most frequently missing, but they weren't especially valuable. 3 of the victims owned a print of an 18th century painting called The Boy in the Red Waistcoat by a French artist, Jean Baptiste. A clue was ultimately a red herring. Like it just boggled their mind as to why these particular things, because like they said, it wasn't of any value. It just completely blagged everybody's head as to where these items, not where, they knew where they came from, but to what significance were these items to her. Because she never revealed it, but it was a lot of religious items too, such as crucifixes, Bibles, rings, and the images, the paintings and the images of saints. The police did theorize. The police officer's theory was that they were trophies upon her capture. Many of these items were found in her residence, along with news clippings detailing all of her unalivings. I don't get it. Why would you basically? That's one thing I don't understand, why serial killers and things like why they take these trophies, because you're pretty much just storing the evidence for to get yourself caught, I guess. I don't know. Now, one thing I do gotta say is his sentencing. I do think some of these other countries need to maybe catch wind of some of these sentences, because you got Japan, where this woman unalived all these innocent babies, 169 of them, and got 8 years and managed to get that down to half. But this lady, not saying one is worse than the other, but she killed less than the other woman. And his sentence was 700, yes, 759 years. Not even close to the longest sentence given there. Like I said, they should be taking some notes from this. I mean, I guess they've all got the good and the bad, but as far as crime, we need that kind of sentencing over here in America, because I've seen some horrific studies that I've researched that people just got slapped. They're first offenders. They did the most heinous crime, but they're first offenders. Think about the psychology of what led them to this moment. What led them to that moment is they were disgusting, psychologically disturbed psychopath. Stop trying to sympathize with these serial killers, these horrendous people. Stop it. We cannot normalize this stuff. And I believe that all of them, if you're not going to give them the death penalty, should get 759 years, just like this lady. Sorry, guys. I get very passionate when it comes to children and elderly people, our defenseless people. I have been reading your requests, guys, for certain videos, but this is about as deep as I can get when it comes to those animals in graphic detail and children in graphic detail are really hard things for me to cover. I have got many of requests to cover child stars that were unalived at young ages. I will lead up to it, I promise you, because I have got a high amount of requests from you guys. But I have to be able to make it through the recording without crying, because some of this stuff is heartbreaking. But anyway, guys, that's the last of the top 10 most dangerous women. Please, please, please support my channel, like and subscribe. Go ahead and send all of your requests to grabyourbrew@gmail.com. You can now follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Amazon Podcast, and Podbean. I think I'm missing one out. Oh, iHeart. You can also follow us on iHeart. But thank you so much for grabbing your brew with me. We finally come to an end for our top 10 most dangerous women. And I appreciate you guys. Join me next week as we dig into the Devil's Bible and the mysterious, creepy things involving how it was wrote, who it was wrote by, and how Lucifer apparently assisted with the writing of this book. Well, I hope you have an amazing week, guys. Thank you so much. Take care.